Hi, and welcome to the Kelly Kitley podcast, America's Social Worker Unfiltered, where every week I have hopeful, honest, and deeply human conversations with change makers. And today I am so excited to introduce you to Casey Davidson, who is the host of Hello Someday Sober podcast. She's a certified coach and helps women drink less and live more. Her podcast was rated one of the top 100 mental health and sobriety podcasts. She's been featured in the New York Times, Good Morning America, CNN, NBC, and so many more. I am so happy to have you here today to share your experience, strength, and hope. Thank you for saying yes, Casey.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you have been 10 years sober. You're a wife, you're a mother to two kids, you are you have created a platform to help other women find living life without alcohol or reducing alcohol. And I just want people to hear how you got to this place. Some things that I relate to so much in your story is the high functioning woman, mother, worker who seemingly has it all together. And one glass of wine turns into a bottle of wine. And some of the taglines of things that you said was unbroken promises or not remembering things and waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning anxious. And I mean, I have chills because that is so much of my story too. And would love to just turn it over to you and share how you found this phase of your life almost a dozen years in, a decade, a decade.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me that it was 10 years ago because for the longest time when I was worried about my drinking, I could not get 4 days. Like I would white knuckle it, make it to 4 days, break, drink a bottle of wine, make it to 4 days again, break, drink a bottle of wine. And in my mind, which was not untrue, I was like, well, 2 bottles of wine over 8 days is way better than 9 bottles of wine. True. And yet I didn't realize that I was doing the absolute hardest part over and over and over again. So, it was, I was always a drinker once I got to college. I was that like gold star, high functioning, straight A kind of girl who was hyper vigilant, sort of about everything, like just really trying to make sure that I said the right thing and did the right thing and, that people liked me, that whole like people pleaser thing. And I found that when I drank, anything could happen. Like my mind turned off and I was up for any adventure. And like to me, that was like a feature, not a bug of drinking. Like I was like, I have no idea what might happen. And that is awesome. Um, and, I played women's rugby in college, which is a master class in problematic binge drinking. Like,
Mhm.
literally, they sit you down and are like, here's how you do a keg stand, here's how you do a funnel, here's how you do a keg run. So, I was a big blackout drinker, still did really well. I went, graduated, went to work. It was really stressful. Like, if you are an overachieving people pleaser in a new job, in a new career, you're anxious and working all the time. And so I would come home and I would open a bottle of wine and didn't know how to cook dinner, ate it with my Lucky Charms, thought I was the most sophisticated 22-year-old in the world in my crappy basement apartment. Um, and then it was what I did. Like I drank 7 nights a week, unless I was trying not to. Just sort of shifted what I drank based on my age, like 20s is cocktails at the bar, 30s were like bottles of wine at, dinner parties, and then mommy wine culture. And then I'm a director at a Fortune 500 company with two little kids doing all the things, married, and I would walk in the door, open a bottle of wine, and drink a bottle, sometimes more,
Mhm.
7 nights a week.
Mhm.
And everything that you expect to happen happened. I would wake up at 3 a.m. on the couch. My husband tried to wake me up, couldn't. I would wake up and hate looking in my eyes, putting on eyeliner. They were bloodshot, they were watery. I felt like garbage. My anxiety was off the chart. And yet it was like drinking was my absolute favorite thing in the world. And so I was like, I need to get this under control so that I never have to give it up forever, because that was like my worst case scenario. And, many years after debating that, trying that, a bunch of false starts, I joined the secret online Facebook groups. I read the Quit Lit. I listened to the podcasts. And then nothing dramatic happened. It was just the death of 1,000 cuts,
Mhm.
sort of like six things happened in a week. And I woke up at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night and said, I can't do this to myself anymore. But like I'd said that a million times
Sure,
too.
sure.
The big difference is I walked into work that day, sat in my big office, and someone had suggested to someone who was way braver than me on the group, who had said, like, another day one. Of course, I read all the comments, um, said, you should really contact this sober coach. And at 10 a.m., I reached out to her. It was Belle Robertson from Tired of Thinking About Drinking, and signed up for her 100-day sober challenge. And you get a sober pen pal for a year. And that was my last day one. And that was 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And something that I hold on to that you said, because, we can see the behaviors and justify and minimize and compare. It's the thinking though. And for something that you said, you would white knuckle it and say, I'm done, and try to piece together 4 days not drinking. What gave you permission to drink again after those 4 days? I love to get inside the head of
Yeah.
people who have struggled with this.
Well, I mean, I think the issue was that I really love drinking. I know that sounds ridiculous now, but it was my favorite thing. I mean, in the whole world. And it was super tied to my identity of who I thought I was. In my mind, it was like a shorthand for like, but don't worry, I'm cool, which sounds so lame for a 40-year-old woman. But,
Mhm.
I was like, yes, I am a mom to a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, but don't worry, I'm a, red wine girl. It was how I bonded with my colleagues. It was how I had, hung out with my husband. It was what I did when I was cooking. It was what I did. I mean, I drank 7 nights a week. I did it with everything, but I had a big drinking crowd, of course,
Mhm.
as we do.
Mhm.
And so I never intended to stop forever, ever. I like, they always are like, nobody wants to stop drinking. You want to feel better. You
Right.
just want to stop feeling like garbage. And I had stopped and started long enough that I knew that drinking was the issue. Like it was no longer that I worried that it was situational, that it was my
Mhm.
boss or
Mhm.
my husband or, whatever that was the problem. I had done it enough times that I was like, oh no, alcohol is the problem. And I am going to have to stop. In my mind, I was just for a long time like, I could probably play this out for a couple more years. Like,
Mhm.
I know I'm going to have to stop drinking, but like, how close can I push it? Um, so when I stopped, what helped me was that I didn't intend to stop forever. I just knew that I needed to get further away from drinking. And I wanted to drink on day two. And you asked what my rationalization was. I mean, it was everything and nothing. Usually it was just I'm overreacting. I'm being dramatic. I just need to moderate better. I mean, I had tried every rule, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to drink red wine because I love it. I'm going to drink white wine or I'm going to drink beer. I'm going to do running club at night so I won't be able to drink between 7 and 8:30, which then I just came home at 8:30 and
The
drank a bottle of wine,
insanity. Yes,
right?
yes.
Like I'll sign up for 5 a.m. boot camps because then I can't drink too much the night before.
Right.
Still drank a bottle of wine, just felt like garbage doing burpees with a brutal hangover. Um, all
Mhm.
and then you get defensive, you get irritated, you're like, what? I do everything else. I do everything for the family, which is total crap. I just wanted to drink, and it's because the substance is addictive, and it's because I went into withdrawal when I wasn't drinking, and the cravings got bad, and it's everywhere. And so I really needed that external accountability because I had tried on my own a million times. I mean, I had written myself all the letters, I'd taken
Yeah.
all the selfies of me
Yeah.
looking like garbage to like shame myself, but nobody told me I needed to stop drinking. My husband didn't want me to completely stop. He wanted me to stop passing out on the couch at 2 a.m. on a, whatever, on a Tuesday. But yeah, so I needed someone else to hold my hand and just be like, yep, it's day 4. You want a drink? Yep, it's day 16. You had a really bad day at work. Yep, you're going on a date to a restaurant with your husband. Like just that block and tackling of like, hold on, it gets better. Just do this instead. Don't think about forever. Like, and as you know, I just started feeling so much better. I just started feeling happier and less anxious, and I looked better, and my workouts were easier, and I was more peaceful. And so I just kept extending the deadline from like 100 days to 6 months to a year. And then during that period, I got through all the fears I had about like, how am I going to have sex with my husband? What's going to happen with my girlfriends? How am I going to go on vacation? What happens on my birthday? So like,
Huh?
I just needed to do it step by step by step until I was like, okay, I think I'm done. At a year, I was like, I think I'm done drinking.
Wow. So not having to sign up forever was really key for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And does addiction, and I have to be careful with language, right? Like everybody has certain language that they just for, I'm an old schooler, so just for old schoolers' sake, does addiction run in your family of origin at all? Did you know anybody who was sober? Like, how much awareness did you have around
So
it
it
before you?
evolved over the years, but nobody in my family struggles with alcohol. Like nobody. It was just me. Um, and I think, like 50% of addiction cases have some sort of family,
Hmm.
dynamic. 50% don't.
Right.
And, it's the substance itself that's addictive. And I think anyone who drinks enough, often enough, whether it's because, underlying mental health issues or, anxiety or the social group you're in, um, will go down the path of drinking more and more often. So my brain lit up the first time I drank. I mean, I was 15, I was at a hotel with my girlfriends. We somehow got into a bar at 15, God knows how. I think we got the pool boy to stamp our hands. I don't even know,
Sure.
but, blacked out, right? Second time I drank, sleepover at my girlfriend's house the night before my sister graduated college, blacked out, threw up all over myself. I mean, brutal. Of course, like this didn't dissuade me. I was like, dude, anything could happen. Yeah, I puked all over myself and like could have had something really. I threw up on the side of my sister's building in front of the entire graduating class with my mother, father, and grandparents next to me. I mean,
Did
and
they
yet
know?
I
Did
was
they know
like,
why you were throwing up?
well, hell yes. My grandmother handed me a mint, and my mother told me I could have picked a more appropriate time. And my dad thought it was funny, but like I just I just drank.
Hmm.
And when I went to college and I played on the women's rugby team, I just drank a lot. And then it just became my entire coping skill. And I kept hanging out with big drinkers. But no, nobody in my family struggled with alcohol. I did not know literally a single sober person before I stopped drinking for the first time when my son was 5. I stopped for the last time when he was 8. When he was 5, that was 13 years ago. And I still had that outdated thing of like, well, only alcoholics stop completely, and I don't want to be in that category. So I would walk into work brutally hungover, being like, okay, am I a quote unquote alcoholic, or do I just abuse alcohol? Because if I just abuse it, I can abuse it less. And you know, went to a therapist for addiction and anxiety, chose him because he said he specialized in addiction, and went in and was like, oh my God, my anxiety's off the chart. Like my boss, my husband, my kids, my life. And I drink a bottle of wine at night. And he was like, yeah, let's talk about your drinking. I was like, no, let's talk about my boss. So he was like, saw through me immediately, which is what I needed.
Uh-huh.
And back then, there really was only AA, and
Yeah.
he was sober and he'd gone through AA. So he encouraged me to go. And I went for about 4 months and learned a lot. It didn't turn out to be my jam, just the
Yeah.
framework and the dogma. But I learned a lot. I stopped for 4 months and then I got pregnant with my daughter. Oh, I'm fixed,
Uh-huh.
like, so the minute she was born, I was like, oh, I can moderate. And it took
Mhm.
me 2 years to stop again. And they were not fun years. They were just, there were fun parts of
Sure.
it, but 80% of it was me waking up at 3 in the morning, being like, what is wrong with me? You got to get it together. This is awful, you know?
Casey, something that you talk about too is like when we are that tightly wound, alcohol is the solution, right? It's like immediate relief and a
Yeah.
release and kind of chills the high powered people pleasing perfectionistic personality down. It kind of gives you permission to take a break.
Yeah.
So no wonder like that struggle of let me go, 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 go all day, walk in the door. For so many people, it's just habitual, right? Like you don't even think twice about it. And I think that, as you help women drink less, which I want you to talk about for a moment. As somebody who tried to drink less, for 10 years until I completely gave it up, and walk people through moderation management as well. But, you know, how did you then transition into what you learned? I would imagine your sober coach had a huge impact on your life.
Yeah.
And you've slowed down in your professional life
But
from,
after I was probably 3 or 4 years sober when I quit being a corporate director. Um, so here I want to clarify something, and it's a little bit of a bait and switch. You guys can
yeah.
be mad at me if you want. I am a sober coach. I do not believe moderation works. For anyone who has gotten to the point where you're like, yikes. Anyone who comes to me who works with me, they have tried to moderate for years. It is not that they have not tried to moderate. It
Okay.
is not that they
Okay.
have not tried to keep alcohol in their life. So my tagline is drink less, live more.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I want women to take 100-day alcohol-free break completely, 100 continuous days.
Amazing.
That, to get away from alcohol so the pull of alcohol can um, loosen on you so you can get over all those fears and limiting beliefs about the idea that you'll never be able to relax or your colleagues will judge you if you don't drink or like you'll lose all your friends or you won't be able to like tolerate your kids. That sounds bad, but like
Yeah.
Candyland
No,
for
of
the
course.
12th millionth time,
Yeah.
I thought that wine helped me do that or play Legos after a long day of work.
Mhm.
Um, so when women come to me to work with me, I'm just like, I am not a moderation coach, even though, I'm like, you have tried to moderate for years. Our joint goal is to get you to 100 continuous days alcohol free. You know, I'm going to work with you on it. I'm going to
Yeah.
hold your hand. I'm going to give you all the tools. But like, that is our goal. And that is so that you can see clearly how alcohol is impacting your life. And then you can decide. Then you can be like, I like my life better without it,
Yes.
or really loved the hangovers and the 3 a.m. anxiety and like trying to pretend that I could remember what I said to my husband last night, even though I have no freaking idea what it was. Um, and so, I after 100 days, obviously your life isn't perfect, but it is so much better. I mean, you're less stressed, you're happier, you're more emotionally regulated, there's no question you're healthier often. Your relationships are a lot better. Work was easier for me. So the process to get there was really hard. Nobody could argue that I was better. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even my husband who didn't want me to stop was like, "Oh yeah, you're happier, you're healthier, you're less reactive, you're more peaceful, you're proud of yourself." Like it was amazing. And then I extended it. So yeah, my tagline on my site is drink less, live more, but truly, drink less, get to 100 days without alcohol, you will be living more. You can choose if you want to go back, but
Thank you
you
for
know,
clarifying that because you are absolutely right. That is so helpful to hear. Sign up for the 100 days and then evaluate if you'd like to continue on this journey or not. I'm not going to teach you how to drink less.
no, I just trust me. I tried every trick in the book
Yep.
and it doesn't freaking work.
Right, right. And sometimes we have to go through that before we can understand that we may need to give it up completely because it's just a vicious cycle.
But even like, I think even when women come to me and they're like, okay, I need to never drink again. I'm there. I'm like, that's great.
Mhm.
I still only want you to concentrate on 100 days. I don't want you to think about never again. I don't want you to think about forever. I don't want you to spend a minute debating whether you are bad enough that you have to quit because, like, you're going to get to 7 days and see a woman having a glass of wine in the sunshine, and you are going to think, never again. I am never again going to have that. And you are going to say, I might as well have it one last time.
Mhm.
And instead, I want you to say, this is a health kick. This is an alcohol free challenge. I am curious and excited about what spring will look like for me if I'm not drinking. Like, will I ride my bike more? Will I go hiking? Will I not cancel 9 a.m. yoga on Saturday because I'm so hungover? Like, you know what spring looks like for you when you're drinking. Give yourself this. I mean, I quit when I was 40. Trust me, I knew what February, March, and April looked like with me drinking, like the highs and the lows. But I had no idea, other than pregnancy, what that might be like
Mhm.
if I wasn't drinking. So, yeah, that's my approach. If someone had told me you will never drink again because you have a serious problem with alcohol, my brain would have immediately been like, okay, A, no, no,
Uh-huh.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
B, do I really have a serious, like maybe my friends drink like I do? I don't know. I've never had this outcome. Like, who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah. Who cares? And I think too, what's really important is that there is a parallel there, right? Like Alcoholics Anonymous, one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 hour at a time, and I think no matter what approach, it has to be in the here and now. Let me take it event at a time or situation at a time. And you had me as a guest on your podcast, and something that we have in common is that our partners were our drinking buddies. And when we gave up drinking, they questioned it and actually didn't want to lose
I
their drinking
loved that
buddy.
conversation because it's so common, right? Like you and I,
Mhm.
very, very similar experiences being married and trying to being the only partner that breaks out of that drinking cycle.
Mhm.
My husband never drank like I did,
Mhm.
but he still drinks and
Yes.
he didn't, your husband too.
Yes. 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 And so I, from the article I read, where you were featured in the New York Times, you do talk about how this has actually strengthened your marriage. And
Mm.
um, that was my biggest fear. This marriage is never going to last if one of us isn't drinking, And it has, if you have a partner who has a willingness to understand and work through it with you and sees the benefits, then it can only improve the relationship. It's when that doesn't happen that it becomes problematic. And that partner is trying to convince you that, come on back to the other side. It's so
Yeah.
much more fun over here.
And I think that actually that 100-day goal helped him too, because it helped to ease him into it without all the fears around like, what happens when we go to Italy? What happens when, like, what are we going to do on our anniversary? I was like, this is essentially 3-month no alcohol health challenge. Like, he didn't believe I'd do it because I'd tried so many times before. But I also didn't tell him, oh my God, I'm worried I have a serious problem with alcohol. I need to stop forever. This is bad. This is dire. He was just like, I mean, I was like, I need your support. I know this is going to be hard. You know, I love to drink. I need no wine in the house. I need you to support me. Like, encourage, like, if I'm like, hey, babe, bad day, buy me a bottle of wine. Please don't do that. Like, I'm asking you now. Um, Not that it was on him, but I
Mhm.
was like, he knows what makes me happy. So when I'd be like, today sucked, he'd bring me home a bottle of wine.
Yeah,
He'd be like,
right.
here, babe. Like they don't even know. They're like, oh, you're being really hard on yourself. Like I'm like, not helpful.
Yeah.
So, but by the end of 100 days, I think a bunch of fears that he would have had on day one were dissipated too, and he could see the benefits. I mean, he gave me a really sweet card on 100 days. He like gave me a journal.
Mm.
I thought it was a big deal. And I told him like, oh my God, I'm hitting 100 days without drinking. I took the day off of work. I got a massage. I did all the things. I journaled. He was like, all right, apparently this is a big deal, you know?
And he followed your lead.
He did.
And you communicated with him what you needed and what was not
Yes.
helpful.
Yes.
And here we are as middle-aged women who have seniors in high school who are going to college, and our kids were young when we got sober.
Yes.
What approach do you take now as you educate your own kids about mom doesn't drink, dad does. There's a whole spectrum of alcohol use. College is still oversaturated with binge drinking. Where do you stand on that, and how do you
Yeah.
navigate that landscape?
Yeah. You know what's really cool is just a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks after my 10 year, I had my son and my daughter on my podcast. And my daughter had been on before. We did a whole episode on how we talk about drinking, what she knows. She's a ham. She's 11. She wants to be on every episode to get clicks and likes, TikTok generation. But my son is turning 18. And when I quit drinking, he was almost 8. And one of my big, big motivations, like very clearly in my mind, was like a decade from now, if I am still drinking a bottle of wine a night and freaking passing out on the couch, when he was 8, he went to bed
Sure.
by the time before I moved on to class 3,
Mhm.
right? But I was seriously like, is he going to want to bring his friends home? Is he going to be embarrassed to bring? What is our relationship going to be like? Is he going to be proud of me? And that hit home really hard. So what was amazing is on my 50th birthday, right? Um, we were going out for sushi. It was a Friday night, all this kind of stuff. And he's 17. He texted me and his dad a couple days before, and they're like, "Hey guys, is it cool if I have the guys over to play poker on Friday?" And of course, I was like, he totally doesn't remember it's my birthday. So my husband's like, "Yep, but remember, it's your mom's birthday. We're going out to dinner, so like it'll have to be 10 p.m. or later." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem, 10 p.m." And I literally was in tears because I was like, it is a decade later and it's a Friday night and it's my 50th birthday, which normally would be like a blowout drinking event
Of
for
course.
many, many people.
Mhm.
And I was like, he does not blink. He has zero worries about bringing his friends to our house at 10 p.m. And I like, for me, I just like got all choked up about it because it was such a full circle moment. But we did a whole podcast episode with him about like his life and what he thinks about drinking and what's not. So I would say Hank is a huge fan of mine. When I hit 1,000 days, he and Mike went to, the craft store and pulled out 1,000. They counted out 1,000 marbles and put them in this glass, carafe, and it's in my office. They bake me a cake on my soberversary every year. So like huge fans. They know and huge fans before I ever became a coach and had
Uh-huh.
a podcast.
Mhm.
Um, they know my husband drinks. They know I don't drink. They know all the stuff about alcohol and what it
Sure.
does to your body. We talk about it all the time. Like, hey, when you're drinking, when the girl is drinking, consent is really hard to interpret. Someone can be blacked out, walking around talking. You have no idea. Alcohol is addictive. He knows everything.
Right.
And I'm under no illusions that he's not going to drink, right? Like
Mhm.
I loved college. I drank a ton in college.
Mhm.
Um, he, I think, has a much better head on his shoulders than I did.
Mhm.
I was clueless about alcohol, like so clueless. But even on the podcast, he was like, I like that I know I can talk to you about it. I like that I know I can be totally open with you. Like, unlike some other parents of his friends who are trying to be like, don't ever drink. We're just like, okay, don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Be super safe. Call me anytime.
Mhm.
Alcohol can really get you in some really bad situations. Mom was a big blackout drinker who threw up a lot, like alcohol poisoning, like, all that stuff. But he's, I feel like I would never say you can never drink because that would have sent me boozing
Right.
like immediately. You
Right.
know what I mean?
You've laid out the information. He is going to be an adult. He can make decisions that work best for him. And if it ever becomes problematic, he knows where to go. That's
Exactly.
so
Like,
simple. It sounds so
and
simple.
hopefully
I know
he
it's.
will know there is a no stigma in our
Mhm,
family about people who
mhm,
stop drinking. There are no
mhm.
labels. So many friends of mine are sober and
Yeah.
he knows all of them. Like it's just like, hey, by the way, this stuff's really bad for you. And obviously lots of people can drink and not have it be a problem, but also a lot of people get into problems with alcohol, and that's the substance.
Mhm.
And like, hopefully he won't have to go through 20 years of, I was throwing a bile before business meetings when I was
Oh my
23.
gosh. Mhm.
Not the coolest,
Yeah.
not the best.
Uh-huh. But look at you now. And
Yes.
I say that because you have now created a platform for other women who are sober curious. You just dropped what number episode of your podcast?
Oh, it's like 315 or something.
Girl,
It's crazy.
I mean, that is a resource in and of itself. And you share content across social media and you coach people. So I will
Yes.
put those links in the show notes so people know where to find you. And you are a living example of the gift of living a life without alcohol. So
You're
thank you so
so
much.
sweet and kind. Thank you.
You're welcome. And for those of you listening, just a friendly reminder to be the change you wish to see in the world, whether it starts with you, your family, in your community, or in this world. Thank you so much and have a great day.